My child, stop for a moment. Pause whatever you're doing and listen with your spirit, not just your ears. Because right now, at this exact moment, something is unfolding that you were never meant to face alone. You've been sensing it. That uneasy feeling in your chest. That strange heaviness that comes and goes. That silent pressure you can't fully explain. It's not imagination. It's not anxiety without reason. It is a signal. Something close to your heart is being shaken in unseen ways. This is not about fear. This is about awareness. You were meant to hear this now, not later, not tomorrow, not after damage is done. Now. You see, while you've been trying to stay strong, while you've been pushing through responsibilities, while you've been praying quietly and hoping for peace, there has been movement behind the curtain you cannot see. And the strange part is this: the threat did not arrive loud. It did not come with alarms. It did not make an obvious entrance. It slipped in quietly, dressed as familiarity, wearing the mask of normal life. And that is why it was dangerous. Because the most damaging threats are often the ones we recognize too late. Someone connected to your life, someone who once stood on the edge of your circle, someone who once knew your name, your face, your family energy, has carried a silent weight inside for a very long time. Not anger that fades. Not disappointment that heals. But bitterness that ferments. A slow-burning resentment that kept growing in the darkness of unspoken comparison. While you were moving forward, they were measuring themselves backward. While you were healing, they were counting what they believed they lost. While you were thanking God, they were questioning why they did not receive the same. And no, it is not dramatic jealousy. It is not childish rivalry. This is much deeper. This is wounded pride that was never surrendered. This is disappointment that hardened into entitlement. This is the type of heart that no longer seeks peace but seeks control. And when a heart seeks control over destiny that does not belong to it, it opens doors that should never be opened. My child, understand this clearly: not every battle looks like a battle. Some battles show up as silence. Some wear the face of age, weakness, and harmlessness. Some arrive wrapped in the appearance of routine. But make no mistake. What looks quiet in the natural can be loud in the spiritual. What looks small in the physical can be heavy in unseen realms. And what feels distant can already be standing closer than you think. You were never meant to panic at this message. You were meant to awaken. There is a difference. Panic weakens you. Awareness strengthens you. And what is rising in you right now is not fear. It is discernment. Your spirit recognizes truth even before your mind can explain it. You've been carrying questions that made no sense. Why did the atmosphere suddenly shift? Why did peace feel interrupted without reason? Why did sleep grow restless? Why did thoughts become unusually loud at night? These were not random changes. These were tremors from an unseen tension pressing against your destiny, trying to create delay, distraction, and emotional exhaustion. But here is what the enemy never anticipated: you would be warned before harm could mature. My child, I did not allow this message to reach you to terrify you. I allowed it to reach you to fortify you. Because you are not weak. You are not unprotected. You are not unaware anymore. And once awareness enters the room, darkness loses its greatest weapon: secrecy. There are people who grow old in years but never grow free in spirit. Life wounded them. Betrayal shaped them. Loss hardened them. And instead of healing, they preserve the wound like an altar of memory. That type of heart does not want restoration, it wants repayment. It wants to see others feel what it once felt. And that is how the heart becomes a battlefield instead of a sanctuary. But listen carefully now, because this matters. No matter how long someone carries bitterness, it does not give them power over your destiny. No matter how deeply someone believes you took something from them, it does not rewrite what God assigned to you. Destiny is not stolen by resentment. Blessings are not transferred by envy. Purpose cannot be hijacked by wounded pride. Yet the emotional impact remains real. The pressure still tries to lean in. The heaviness still attempts to linger. That is why you are being called to stand, not with aggression, not with revenge, but with spiritual stability. Because this is not about fighting a person. This is about resisting an atmosphere. This is about breaking psychological pressure before it becomes emotional fatigue. This is about protecting peace before it becomes confusion. This is about safeguarding loved ones before anxiety becomes authority. You were chosen not to be fragile. You were chosen to be grounded. And the reason this sounds uncomfortable is because awakening always disrupts comfort before it restores peace. But what is being activated in you right now is not fear, it is authority. Someone thought silence would protect their intentions. Someone assumed time would hide their bitterness. Someone believed the passage of years would bury what never healed. But time does not heal what truth is required to confront. And truth has a way of surfacing when hearts grow desperate enough to interfere with other people's peace. My child, you are not being targeted because you are weak. You are being noticed because you are strong. You are not under pressure because you are failing. You are under pressure because something valuable is moving through your life. Destinations that carry weight create resistance in unseen places. Think about your life. Think about how many times you should have broken but didn't. Think about how many cycles tried to trap you but couldn't. Think about how many moments you stood up when it would have been easier to quit. That does not happen by accident. That happens when destiny refuses to collapse under pressure. And that is why disturbance tries to find proximity. It follows relevance. It follows growth. It follows transformation. But what approaches your life must pass through divine permission first. And what God does not authorize, it cannot complete. Right now, peace is being restored not by silence, but by truth. Not by avoidance, but by positioning. You are being repositioned into awareness without being pushed into fear. You are being sharpened without being hardened. You are being strengthened without being shaken. You don't need to confront anyone physically. You don't need to accuse. You don't need to prove anything. Spiritual battles are not won by public arguments. They are resolved by private alignment. They are stabilized by prayer, clarity, restraint, and emotional discipline. When you stay calm while pressure tries to provoke you, you remove the oxygen that feeds its power. The enemy wanted panic. What arrived instead is peace with perception. The enemy wanted confusion. What arrived instead is clarity with control. The enemy wanted delay. What arrived instead is acceleration through awareness. And now, something greater is happening. The very pressure intended to weaken you is sharpening your discernment. The very heaviness meant to exhaust you is teaching you how to guard your emotional gates. The very tension meant to distract you is pushing you into deeper spiritual grounding. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not vulnerable the way fear suggests. You are positioned. And this message is not about glorifying darkness. It is about reminding you that light never loses its authority just because shadows become loud. You were never abandoned in this. You were being prepared silently before danger could speak loudly. And what you carry inside now, this peace mixed with strength, is the signal that protection has already moved into place. My child, continue to walk calmly. Continue to guard what enters your heart. Continue to speak life over your household. Continue to release forgiveness even when emotions want to cling to offense. Forgiveness is not for the guilty, it is for the free. You will notice shifts. The tension will weaken. The heaviness will lift. The confusion will dissolve. Rest will return. Focus will sharpen. And you will look back at this moment realizing something tried to form, but it could not finish. Because awareness interrupted assignment. Because truth blocked intention. Because God stood in the gap before damage reached the surface. And this is only the beginning of the reversal. My child, I want you to understand something deeply right now. The moment awareness entered your spirit, the balance shifted. What was moving quietly lost its advantage. Because secrecy only works in darkness, and darkness collapses the instant light becomes conscious of its presence. You didn't stumble into this moment. You were positioned here on purpose. Every sleepless night, every strange feeling, every moment of pressure that didn't make sense was not meant to break you. It was meant to wake you. There are people who spend years watching the rise of others in silence. They smile, they nod, they act supportive, but inside them lives a comparison they never healed. They measure success like it was a competition. They interpret your blessings as evidence of their own failure. And instead of asking God to lift them too, they allow resentment to twist their understanding of life. Over time, that resentment grows a voice. And the longer it goes unchallenged, the louder it becomes. But here is the truth that changes everything: bitterness never elevates anyone. It only digs spiritual graves they eventually fall into themselves. My child, some people don't want what you have because they admire it. They want it because they believe it should never have reached you in the first place. They rewrite stories in their minds where they become the victim and you become the thief. They convince themselves that destiny made a mistake favoring you. And once that belief settles in, it doesn't stay emotional. It becomes intentional. But intention does not equal authority. You were not blessed on accident. You were placed on purpose. You were protected before you were even aware you needed protection. Long before threats formed opinions, heaven had already marked you as covered. And what destiny tags, darkness cannot erase. My child, you don't need to know names. You don't need dates. You don't need proof in the natural. Discernment is not built on evidence. It is built on alignment. And you are aligned right now. That is why your spirit feels alert instead of afraid. That is why your heart feels steady instead of shaken. That is why your mind is calm instead of racing with panic. Because when danger arrives without permission, grace arrives with authority. You may have noticed strange resistance lately. Delays that make no sense. Tension between people that came out of nowhere. Emotional heaviness that tried to nest itself into your peace. These were not random. They were pressure points aimed at distracting your focus and weakening your emotional consistency. Because if the enemy can't destroy destiny directly, it tries to exhaust the carrier emotionally. But what it forgot is that your strength is not manufactured by comfort. Your strength was built in pressure. And pressure only reminds you who you really are. You don't fall apart when things get heavy. You become sharper. You don't lose direction when storms rise. You gain clarity. Because this is not your first battle. This is not your first test. This is not your first moment of standing when others expected you to fold. And that is why you are still here. My child, I need you to guard your reactions in this season. Not because danger is close, but because victory is closer. And victory often provokes emotions that try to distract the disciplined. Do not allow anger to write words that wisdom would never approve. Do not allow frustration to drive actions that peace would never endorse. You will be tempted to confront. You will be tempted to explain. You will be tempted to prove. But storms don't require speeches to pass. They require stillness and alignment. The same God who allowed you to see this moment ahead of impact is also the same God who already prepared the outcome. Your job is not to fight in the flesh. Your job is to remain spiritually positioned. Some victories happen because you attack. Others happen because you refuse to step out of your peace. This one belongs to the second category. You don't need to expose anyone publicly. You don't need to defend your name loudly. You don't need to justify your journey. Silence under authority is not weakness, it is strategy. The more you remain calm, the faster confusion collapses around your opposition. The more you remain disciplined, the weaker manipulation becomes. The more you continue blessing instead of cursing, the quicker the cycle breaks. Because what was sent to disturb you cannot survive in an environment saturated with peace, prayer, clarity, and restraint. My child, listen carefully now, because this is important. Your household is covered. Your loved one is shielded. The fear that tried to whisper worst-case scenarios has already been denied entry. Sleeplessness has been cut off at the root. Anxiety will not anchor itself in your nights. Confusion will not establish residency in your mornings. The threat formed intention, but intention alone cannot override protection. There is difference between someone wishing harm and harm being authorized. And nothing against you has been authorized. This is why no nightmare was allowed to finish. This is why no accident crossed the line. This is why no irreversible damage reached manifestation. Because intervention arrived before escalation could complete its cycle. My child, you are living inside a divine interruption. What was supposed to spiral, stalled. What was meant to grow, shrank. What was supposed to attach, detached. What was meant to spread, dissolved. And you are standing at the point where the reversal already started without you fighting a single visible battle. But hear this gently and clearly, do not relax your discipline just because peace is returning. Some battles are won not with one act of prayer but with consistent alignment. Peace is not maintained by emotional reactions, it is maintained by daily surrender, daily gratitude, daily focus, and daily restraint. The enemy will try one last trick. To make you think it is over so your guard drops too low. But you don't guard from fear anymore. You guard from wisdom. You don't pray because you're scared. You pray because you're grounded. You don't stay alert because you're paranoid. You stay alert because you're mature. This is growth speaking. My child, what is forming next in your life will require a stronger version of you. Wider peace. Deeper patience. Sharper discernment. Lighter heart. Firmer boundaries. And all of that is developing right now through awareness. You were not meant to be naive forever. But you were also not meant to become bitter. You were meant to become wise without losing softness. Strong without becoming harsh. Protected without closing your heart to love. And you are becoming exactly that. Some people grow old and hard. Others grow aware and gentle. You are growing aware and steady. That is a rare combination. That is why your life attracts both favor and resistance at the same time. But always remember this, resistance only appears where progress exists. No one tries to stop what is already dead. No one tries to attack what carries no impact. No one tries to slow what was never moving. You are moving. You are becoming. You are advancing. Even right now as you listen, something inside you is stabilizing. Something inside you is exhaling. Something inside you is realizing, I am not in danger. I am in position. And that realization shifts everything. Because fear makes you reactive. But awareness makes you unstoppable. My child, rest tonight without scanning shadows. Sleep without rehearsing threats. Wake up without carrying yesterday's pressure into tomorrow. Peace is not being taken from you. Peace is being fortified inside you. And right now, the reversal is quietly sealing itself. The very force that tried to disrupt order is being redirected into exposure. The very intention meant to destabilize is being neutralized at the root. The very pressure meant to crush is being converted into confirmation of protection. And soon, you will witness emotional relief in ways that make you look back and say, something tried to rise, but it couldn't finish. Because what touched your boundary met authority. And what met authority had to retreat. My child, now that the pressure has been exposed, something far more powerful begins to unfold. What once operated in quiet tension is now being overshadowed by divine order. You may not see lightning in the sky. You may not hear thunder shake your room. But do not confuse silence with inactivity. Some of the greatest movements in the universe happen without sound. Right now, balance is being restored at a level your eyes cannot perceive yet, but your spirit already senses it. You might feel strangely calm after everything you've heard. That calm is not denial. That calm is confirmation. It is the sign that fear no longer has the steering wheel. It means your nervous system is no longer reacting to imagined outcomes. Your peace has chosen to trust the unseen hand that has always been guiding you. And that is the moment when true victory begins. There are forces in life that feed on emotional chaos. They thrive when your thoughts race faster than your faith. They grow louder when your reactions outrun your wisdom. But when you become still on the inside, when your mind stops panicking and your heart remains soft yet steady, those forces lose their food source. And what starves will eventually collapse. My child, I want you to notice something gentle happening inside you right now. You are no longer picturing worst-case endings. You are no longer rehearsing what could go wrong. Your imagination is shifting back to hope. That is not accidental. That is restoration at work. The battle was never meant to dominate your thoughts. It was meant to refine your focus. You were never created to live in survival mode. You were designed to live in trust. And trust is returning to your inner world quietly, steadily, without drama. Some people assume that protection always feels loud and dramatic. They expect visible confrontation. They expect noise, proof, exposure, chaos. But true protection often feels like calm replacing panic, clarity replacing confusion, strength rising without effort, and peace standing guard where anxiety once stood watch. That is not weakness. That is mastery over fear. My child, let me say this gently, not everything that tries to disturb you deserves your attention. Sometimes the greatest display of authority is what you refuse to react to. Not every shadow needs investigation when you are already standing in light. Not every whisper needs interpretation when truth is already anchored in you. What attempted to attach to your life has been interrupted. You do not need to go searching for threats anymore. You do not need to scan people's faces for hidden motives. Hypervigilance is not wisdom. Peace with awareness is wisdom. You are allowed to breathe again. You are allowed to enjoy your days again. You are allowed to plan your future without fear sneaking into your imagination. And that freedom is not coming from ignorance. It is coming from confidence in divine covering. My child, something else is shifting too. Your emotional boundaries are strengthening. You are becoming less reactive to provocation. Less dependent on approval. Less shaken by misunderstanding. That is not hardness. That is maturity. That is the kind of emotional stability that cannot be manipulated easily. In the past, delays might have shaken you deeply. Now, you wait with steadiness. In the past, silence might have wounded you. Now, you understand its seasons. In the past, conflict might have stolen your sleep. Now, peace guards your rest. These are not small changes. These are signs that you are no longer governed by fear-based reactions. You are now governed by trust-based decisions. And trust always outlives opposition. My child, the one connected to your heart, the one you were worried about, is not slipping into harm. They are being preserved even when they don't realize it. Sometimes protection looks like closed doors. Sometimes it looks like canceled plans. Sometimes it shows up as delays that feel frustrating but quietly prevent future regret. What you thought was inconvenience was actually intervention. There are moments in life where you will think, if only this had gone differently. And years later you will realize, it went exactly the way it needed to. Protection is often misunderstood until hindsight translates it. You were spared without being told every detail of what you escaped. And that is mercy. My child, let your heart rest in this truth: what you feared most did not gain permission to manifest. You were intercepted before the harm could take shape. That is why some things never made sense. That is why some situations shifted suddenly without explanation. That is why certain paths closed abruptly even when you thought they would stay open. Those weren't random endings. Those were divine exits. You might not have chosen them. But they chose to save you. Now listen closely, because this next part is important for where you are going. There is a shift approaching your life that will feel like expansion. Opportunities will open that stretch your comfort zone. New responsibilities will challenge your confidence. Fresh connections will ask you to trust again. And the only reason you were recently trained in emotional steadiness is because what is coming requires a calm heart to steward it well. If you carried old fear into your next season, it would distort what is meant to bless you. If you carried old suspicion into your next chapter, it would poison new relationships. If you carried old anger into your next opportunity, it would sabotage progress. So those things were confronted now. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. My child, sometimes preparation feels like pressure until you realize it was shaping your capacity to hold more without breaking. What you are becoming can handle what you once feared. What you are becoming can oversee what you once felt unqualified for. What you are becoming is not fragile. It is flexible yet firm. Gentle yet grounded. Aware yet unafraid. These are the traits of someone who is no longer ruled by reaction but guided by purpose. And that is why what tried to shake you could not remove you from alignment. You remained centered. You remained focused. You remained steady. Even when you felt pressure, you did not lose your core. That is strength. My child, I do not want you to measure your progress by how loud your victories look on the outside. Some of your greatest victories are invisible. You didn't lash out when you could have. You didn't quit when you felt discouraged. You didn't become bitter when you could have hardened. You didn't collapse into fear when anxiety tried to climb your thoughts. Those are wins. Quiet wins. Deep wins. Permanent wins. And they are building the foundation of the life you are about to step into. Soon, you will look back at this moment not with dread, but with gratitude. You will realize that what felt like a warning was actually a turning point. A moment where fear lost its grip and purpose gained ground. You will realize that what tried to disturb your peace actually trained you to protect it better. And you will walk forward lighter, calmer, wiser, and more discerning than ever before. Because, my child, you are not surviving this season. You are mastering it. My child, now the storm has fully passed, and what remains is not damage, but clarity. You can breathe again without feeling like something is chasing your peace. That heavy pressure that once sat on your chest has lifted, not because you fought loudly, but because protection worked quietly. This is the kind of victory that doesn't need applause. It speaks through stability, through peace returning to your routine, through emotional safety settling back into your heart. What tried to interfere with your life has already lost its influence. It may still linger as a memory, but it no longer holds authority. Its season is over. Its access is closed. The fear that once felt close is now distant. The confusion that once felt loud is now silent. The tension that once felt constant is now dissolving into calm. You did not imagine that shift. You survived a moment that was meant to shake you, and instead of breaking, you grew stronger at the core. My child, look at yourself now compared to before. You think more clearly. You react less emotionally. You choose peace faster. You release control more easily. You trust more deeply. These are not small changes. These are the signs that you are no longer ruled by instability. You are ruled by alignment. That is why what once threatened your peace now feels powerless. You outgrew the season that tried to contain you. The one you were concerned about, the one you held in your heart through prayer and silent worry, is not beyond safety. They are moving forward under quiet preservation. You may not see dramatic evidence, but you will notice subtle confirmations. Better decisions, unexpected protection, delayed situations that later reveal their purpose, and small moments where danger was avoided without explanation. Those are not coincidences. Those are quiet signatures of mercy. And now, the focus shifts back to you. Not to fear. Not to defense. But to building. To dreaming. To expanding. To becoming everything you once prayed for with trembling faith. The season of watching your back is ending. The season of walking forward with confidence is beginning. You are stepping into a chapter where your energy no longer leaks into survival, but flows into purpose. You will notice your creativity returning. Your motivation strengthening. Your emotions stabilizing. Your relationships becoming clearer. Your boundaries becoming firmer without being aggressive. You will feel excitement again without guilt. Joy again without suspicion. Hope again without anxiety hunting it down. This is not because life suddenly became perfect. It is because fear no longer has control over your reactions. And that changes everything. My child, do not carry the memory of threat into the future as fear. Carry it as wisdom. Let it remind you of how protected you truly are. Let it teach you how strong your spirit has become. Let it confirm that unseen help is real, active, and precise. You were never walking alone. You were never standing unguarded. Even when you couldn't explain what you felt, protection was already moving. You will no longer be startled by every shift in atmosphere. You will no longer feel unstable when life changes suddenly. You will no longer assume danger when silence arrives. You have learned the difference between intuition and fear, between awareness and anxiety, between caution and panic. That discernment is now part of you. From this moment forward, you move lighter. You decide faster. You forgive quicker. You trust wiser. You stand firmer. You love deeper. You breathe easier. The tension that once tried to live in your nervous system no longer belongs there. Peace has reclaimed its seat inside you. Let this be the moment you stop doubting your strength. Let this be the moment you stop questioning your worth. Let this be the moment you recognize that everything you survived was shaping you into someone who can now lead their own life with confidence rather than fear. You are not here by chance. You are not alive by accident. You are not standing by luck. You are standing because you were preserved for a reason. And now that reason begins to unfold more clearly than ever before. My child, keep your heart clean. Keep your intentions pure. Keep your spirit steady. Keep choosing peace even when chaos tries to get your attention. What was meant to stop you only trained you. What was meant to scare you only refined you. What was meant to confuse you only clarified you. And now, you rise with calm authority, quiet confidence, and unshakable peace. This chapter does not end in fear. It ends in freedom. It does not end in confusion. It ends in clarity. It does not end in attack. It ends in alignment. And as you move forward from here, know this deep in your spirit: your life is not fragile. Your destiny is not shaky. Your future is not threatened. You are protected, guided, strengthened, and carried. Everything that tried to touch you without permission failed. And everything meant for your growth is already approaching. You are safe. You are ready. And you are just getting started.